How has the mental side of the NFL draft evaluations changed over time? I speak more about this with ESPN draft analyst Mel Kiper Jr. in this episode of Iggy Sports Talk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hold up. Wait until the whole team show up. Yeah.
What's up, and welcome back into Iggy's Sports Talk. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Jake Ignazuski, or Iggy for short. And in this episode, I am joined by ESPN draft analyst Mel Kiper Jr. and speak with him about how the mental side of draft evaluations have changed over time, with mental health being more prevalent nowadays, as well as talk about with him how organizations have changed the way that they help draft prospects acclimate and get used to the NFL landscape mentally so that they don't feel overwhelmed and they're able to transition smoothly. And I don't know about you, seeing, different number one draft picks or different highly regarded picks go down as busts or struggle being able to acclimate to the NFL. I think it's a lot more mental than it is physical, especially with all the pressure that some of these prospects have, being the number one pick, getting all this money, sort of in a lot of fans' minds, being the savior of an organization. It's super easy, especially for somebody who is in their early 20s, to feel overwhelmed or feel a lot of the pressure and feel like they have to be perfect. And especially with that acclimation, with that transition, if you don't have the right people around you to help you be able to transition smoothly or prepare you for that first season in the NFL, it's going to be really tough to be able to perform up to the standards that some of these organizations, fans, or analysts or experts really expect of them. And there's always these draft grades, these evaluations, these scouting reports, but it's super tough to fully be able to predict how a player will be able to perform from the college level to the NFL. Obviously, the competition level is drastic, and a lot of people forget about the mental side of it, because especially for a lot of these kids at a young age, they've been taught a lot of the critical mental aspects of the game and how to mentally prepare and how to deal with failure, how to deal with adversity. A lot of these players who are, highly regarded draft picks have been told that they're the best player in their class all throughout their life. They haven't had to overcome failure. They haven't had to overcome struggle. And, there's a lot of examples of that. Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell, Zach Wilson is one of the latest ones. And it's never easy to see a player really mentally break down in front of your eyes, or, struggle with all the expectations that they had going into the season. And so it was really fascinating to speak with Mel Kiper, somebody who's been in this industry for so many years and has evaluated so many different prospects. And it was very interesting to hear his thoughts on how the evaluations have sort of changed, specifically on the mental side, and how some of the lessons of these different busts from the draft have helped scouts and organizations figure out better ways to help these different players acclimate. And I think especially with this subject, with the NFL draft, coming up, it's a very prevalent and applicable sort of topic, because that's one thing that a lot of people forget. And, if this is your first time listening to Iggy's Sports Talk, this is something that I really like to talk about: the mental side of sports, the stuff that not a lot of people like to focus on, and to try and give you a different perspective according to, these different experts. I'm not the expert. I just take what I've seen in my experiences of being a sports fan and covering sports, and try to, showcase these different perspectives to you to help you look at the mental side, to help you look at the human aspect. Because, to me, it's so difficult for a lot of these different people out in society to be able to look at these athletes as people. And I feel like, as somebody who really cares about the mental side, I want to be able to help shed light on that, while also finding a way to help you, the listener, if you're struggling with mental health issues, being able to look at these different players and say, they have it all. They're making millions of dollars, but if they're able to overcome their struggles, then I can too. And so if you want to hear more episodes like this, and hear more inspiring stories from athletes, business professionals, musicians, and find different practices from these different people's experiences on how to improve your life and your mental health struggles, then make sure to subscribe to Iggy Sports Talk over on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I post episodes bi-weekly with, not only people on the level of Mel Kiper, but others who, are like I said, athletes and, business professionals. And I really try to showcase a wide range of different people to show you that anybody can deal with mental health struggles and anybody can overcome them as well. So now let's get into my conversation with Mel Kiper, talking about the mental side that goes into the NFL draft evaluations. I'm curious how the mental side of draft evaluations has evolved throughout the years, especially since mental health is becoming a lot more well known and prevalent these days.
Yeah, everybody's always looked at every aspect of a player. I mean, I can go back when I started in the late 70s. It was always excuse me, everybody did their due diligence. Everybody looked at every aspect. You talked to high school coaches, you talked to every college coach, talked to everybody about around that player, anything you can find. That was your job, is to basically, that was a scout's job. To be out there doing all that work, all that research on every player. That's why everybody team to team, all the evaluations are different. That's why doing mock drafts is so hard, because everybody's opinions are different. Somebody they're not high on a guy, other teams are very high on that player. So that's why what I try to do is step back at some point from the mock drafts and say, okay, what do I think? When I put my name on those ratings, that's my opinion. So I have to go at the end of the day. You hear a million things, you see a million things as you look at games from their freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. So you're looking at a lot of different variations of players when they were hurt, when they were healthy, different systems, different coaches. And you got to try to put it all together. And it's not easy. This is not an exact science. No matter what you do, no matter how much technology you have at your disposal, no matter how many draft systems or philosophies you have or algorithms you have or whatever you have, it's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be mistakes made. I bring up the Chiefs all the time. If the Chiefs would have taken, been able to trade for Paxton Lynch, they wouldn't have drafted Patrick Mahomes. They wouldn't have traded down that year and gotten Chris Jones. So had one move been made where they would have gotten Paxton Lynch in a trade, which they didn't work out. Denver did it instead of them. They wouldn't have had Chris Jones. They wouldn't have had Patrick Mahomes. So there you go. That's just one little instance, one little move can impact your future of your entire football team. So that's how fragile the draft is in terms of these evaluations and these decisions are made. It's been like that since I started in the late 70s.
And then just a quick follow-up. I was curious, is there anything that you've seen or heard from teams that they've maybe done differently in the last few years or so to help guys mentally transition to the NFL a little bit easier rather than, what we saw from a few years ago?
Well, there's no easy way. College, it's not the NFL. We can talk about how great the SEC is. It's not the NFL. I always say there's a lot of AOGs in college and other occupation guys, and that's who you're working against. Guys that you get in the NFL, it's a huge mental adjustment. It's a physical adjustment. It's a mental adjustment. A lot of guys get kind of kicked to the curb early because they can't handle it. It's just too much. And we talk about everybody loves football, but what's the degree of love? There's got to be you got to be at a 10 when you get in the NFL. You got to love the grind of football, what you got to do during the off season. It's not just about once you get the money, how does your love of the game drop back a little bit? Now you've gotten the goal of being an NFL player. You still got to grind because this is the best in the world playing in the NFL. And these kids sometimes just don't realize that till it's too late. And you got to keep trying to get better. What worked in college won't work in the NFL. So to your point about the mental side of it is huge. And teams have to obviously hope that you get players that can handle that pressure and the expectations that come along with being an NFL player. So that's all part of it. So you got to evaluate players. I've always said in totality, that mental part of it is huge.
Appreciate it, Mel.
Sure.
I hope that you did enjoy my conversation with Mel Kiper Jr. and got a little bit of a better sense of not only how, the evaluations have changed over time, but also how organizations have changed, how they're helping these NFL prospects transition from college to the NFL. And like I said in the intro, if you want to hear more conversations like this, I have a lot of great episodes and interviews in the vault that I'm going to be posting throughout the next few weeks or so from multiple different professional athletes from different sports, as well as, actors, musicians, etc. And so make sure to subscribe over on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Iggy Sports Talk is posted on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Outcast as well. Like I said, anywhere you listen to podcasts, Iggy Sports Talk is on there. And I hope that you really did enjoy this episode. And, through episodes like this and other ones that, I posted in the past, I'm able to help you see a different perspective of sports while also finding ways to apply these different lessons to your own life and really being able to help you live this life to the fullest. Because, in my opinion, we only get every second once. And if we're able to, take advantage of each and every single second and be happy, make memories and not allow, the external factors of the world to get into our head and to, have anxiety, hurt our experience on this earth. If I'm able to help you avoid those types of things, and like I said, live each and every single day to the fullest, I feel like, I'm doing my job on this earth and, through this journey we call life. But as always, I greatly appreciate everybody tuning in and thank you so much for all the support over these, last few weeks or so. It's been amazing to, see people's reaction of, my conversations with, JJ Redick, Alex Rodriguez. Like I said, tons more episodes just like those ones that are going to be posted over the next weeks or so. So make sure to subscribe. And I hope that everybody has a great rest of your day and, enjoys the NFL draft as well. But I'll see you and talk to you next time. Peace.